Well, it's such a privilege to be here. Thank you. And before I start, I wanted to thank Will, Luke, and all the team at DTS. Putting on an event like this is no small challenge. But I also wanted to thank them not only for inviting me, but also for being such brilliant champions of the Diversity and Inclusion Initiative. There were last year, there were over 40% women in this conference, and hopefully the numbers are going to be similar, if not even better this year, and that is unmatched when it comes to technology conference, and I think that deserves a round of applause. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. You know, in my mind, technology is power. So I wanted to talk to you a bit about power. I want to start this off with a story about power. I changed my perception of power when I moved from the United Kingdom to the United States. Until then, I thought power was the accent that you spoke English in. So I paid special attention to Mrs. Wilson in my speech and drama classes at school, or the universities that you graduated from. So I chose both Oxford University and then Harvard Business School. But it wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles and Hollywood, of all places, that I learned that true power was authentic power. And authentic power wasn't about how much money you had, or how good looking you were, or how famous you were. Authentic power was the power to focus on what you believed and what you wanted to create, regardless of the blowback. It was about living up to your standards and not the standards of others. It was about breaking through by becoming your own champion. Authentic power was the power to be so true to who you are and what you believe at all times that you can't help but convey your DNA to everyone you touch. So this was a bit of a mind play for me. It wasn't quite the experience I was expecting moving out to La La Land. Nevertheless, it was life-transforming. It was life-changing for me. I started thinking a lot about the difference between freedom of expression and living your life as a collective. Was I really allowed to live the life that I wanted to live and be the person that I wanted to be? Or did I need to be the person that other people needed me to be? Then I remember one day at dinner with a dear friend of mine, Heath Ledger, and may his soul rest in peace, we were talking about this transformational experience. And I remember that one night we differed on a lot of different elements of the conversation, but we agreed on one thing, that it was women who were to blame for our dilemmas. Whether that be Josephine Baker, the first black superstar who rattled her way to stardom in a banana skirt, even though the New York Times labeled her a Negro wench. And this is her dancing. Or whether that was Émile Gautreau, aka Madam X, who caused pandemonium in the late 1900s by posing with a strapless shoulder that had to be repainted, and with a pose that showed an utter disdain and disregard for the opinion of others, even though nudes were commonplace in the Paris salon at that stage. Or whether that was Kim Kardashian, a new world leader, a cultural force to be reckoned with, who claims to her haters that she is living her dream while they're asleep, wet dreaming of it. Her words, not mine. You know, whatever you think of these women, whether you think they're good people or bad people, whether they're taking the world in the right direction or the wrong direction, they all have a few things in common. They're change makers, they're rule breakers, and they're pioneers. And they also have something else in common. They've all inspired me to work harder, be better, and also want to have an impact on the world. So much so that I wrote my first book, The Kim Kardashian Principle, after them. So the question is, what can we learn from these change makers, rule breakers, pioneers about creating our own followings, starting our own movements, building our own brands? Well, before we get to that, I want to talk to you a bit about these folk, millennials and Generation Z. So every time I speak to a chief information officer, technology officer, marketing officer, CEO, they all say the same thing. How do we crack this cohort? Well, what do we know about them? They're optimistic, they're confident, they're self-expressive. 1 in 4 of them have a piercing in some other place in their earlobe that I still find quite distressing. But apart from that, there's still a challenge to actually engage. There's a challenge to get the attention of. They're a challenge to get them to advocate for your brands, your products, your services. Now, in 2014, I gave an exclusive study and interview to Variety magazine. And in that study, I said that YouTubers like PewDiePie, KSI, Smosh were more influential amongst this cohort than the likes of Taylor Swift, Brad Pitt, Jennifer Lopez, traditional celebrities. By show of hands, how many of you are familiar with that study, just out of interest? All right, a few hands are going up. So that study ended up going viral, and it essentially put the new breed of influencer on the map, okay, because they were authentic. But the other question that it raised was that how are these teenagers, young adults, managing to engage this cohort when some of the biggest and most sophisticated brands and marketers and information people in the world and technology people in the world are struggling to do so? Well, the answer surprisingly lies in a picture of Kim Kardashian's ass. So now I'm going to ask you a few questions, and by show of hands, I want you to tell me whether you agree or whether you disagree with that, all right? So it's a bit participatory. So question number 1 is regarding the New York Post's front page. Kim Kardashian last year tried to sort of advocate for prison reform, and she was successful in releasing Alice Johnson, who had been given a life sentence because of a first-time offense. So this headline reads, Kim Thong-un pitches press on prison reform. Trump meets rump. How many of you in this audience agree that a rump is a good descriptor of Kim Kardashian? I think we have two hands that are going up. So we've got a lot of Kim K fans in the audience here. Okay. All right, so about 2 people that I saw at least. Question number 2. Oxford University, this is my alma mater, although this is not my college. Oxford University is the oldest English-speaking language university in the world, right? It is committed to foster an environment of inclusion, diversity, equality. And this guy's star is Cecil Rhodes. Let me show you a close-up of him. Cecil Rhodes is a racist, imperialist businessman from the 1800s. How many of you think that this man should still be celebrated in 2019? All right, we've got some more hands going up for that one. Next in line, Harvey Weinstein and his buddy, Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep called Harvey Weinstein her agent and her god at the 2012 Golden Globes Awards. They were indeed very close. And yet, when his sexual harassment allegations emerged, she claimed that she didn't know anything about them, although many A-list actresses claimed that it was an open secret in Hollywood. Everybody knew what Harvey Weinstein was doing. How many of you believe that Meryl Streep didn't know about Harvey Weinstein's bad behavior? Oh, wow, we have none. Okay. And last but not least, Brexit. It was a mistake. It was rigged. People were duped. They were giving the wrong information. Not enough younger voters came out to vote. How many of you believe that you know somebody who claimed that they voted to stay, but they actually voted to leave? All right, we've got some. All right, so why I'm asking these questions? Let's look at what the private surveys and national representative samples are saying. 62% of people actually claim of this cohort that they respect Kim Kardashian. They don't see her as being a rump. They actually see her as being a cunning strategist who is using her skills to get ahead and win at the game. 1 in 2 people still believe that Cecil Rhodes should be celebrated. It is an important part of their history, their forefathers' history, and that should be remembered. 73% of people think that Meryl Streep did in actual fact know about Harvey Weinstein. That's probably why these posters ended up emerging around Los Angeles. And last but not least, 63% claim that they know somebody who said that they wanted to stay, but they actually probably ended up voting to leave. So why am I telling you the statistics? Who cares? Well, it shows that there's an opportunity in the marketplace. Today, there is a difference between what people are thinking and what they are saying, what they claim to feel and what they truly crave. And that opportunity, or that cultural tension point, is an opportunity to study and sell authenticity. And that opportunity is what I call the Kim Kardashian principle. Now, should you choose to study the Kim Kardashian principle, or even better, should you choose to embrace it, it can be remarkably liberating, because the Kim Kardashian principle allows you to say what you want to say, do what you want to do, and be who you want to be. We're working with a very different cohort today. There are 6 new rules for us to outperform. There are 6 new rules to win. And I'm going to take you through those rules now. All right? They're very counterintuitive, but we work in a very different world now. Rule number 1, find what's unique about you and amp it up. So for too long, we have been told to conform, be less of who we are in order to fit in. But the exact same people who are using their uniquenesses and amplifying those uniquenesses are the ones that are breaking through. So in a Harvard Business Review study most recently, they said that over 30% of professionals have changed their mannerisms, the way they dress, the way they speak, in order to fit in. Those are old school rules. The new school rules are the opposite. What is unique about you? Not only own it, not only rock it, but amplify it. So let's take Kim Kardashian, for example. If Kim Kardashian had abided by Hollywood standards of what it meant to be a sex symbol, she would have never broken through. Sex symbols in Hollywood are blonde-haired and blue-eyed. They have a particular body shape. But what Kim Kardashian did was she came along, she owned her Armenian heritage, she owned her brunetteness, she owned her unique body shape, and as a result, she disrupted the category. And she busted the norms of that category. And that is an enormous part of her appeal, doing things differently, owning what is unique about her. Right? A brand that does this well is Think. How many of you have heard of Think, the period-proof panties? Quite a few hands going up. They disrupted on a variety of different levels. On a product level, they made these period-proof panties. On a messaging level, and on an advertising level too. After 80 years of vague euphemisms and blue liquid advertising, Think had a candid and honest conversation about the painful and messy experience of periods. Right? So rule number 1, find what's unique about you and amp it up. Rule number 2, it's better to be overexposed than edited. Cohorts today have been raised around people saying all the right things, wearing all the right clothes, having all the right hairstyles, and then be caught behind closed doors doing something very different. So they're a very savvy audience that we're up against today with our innovating around with our products, ideas, and services. So it's better to be overexposed, right? So let's say a brand that didn't do this so well. Does anyone know who this guy is? This is Jared Fogle. He was the face of Subway for many years, and he lost, I have no idea how he managed to lose so much weight by just eating bread, but he did. And And the CMO of Subway called him, Jared, that he had become a fabric of the DNA. Everybody in the United States, at least, knew this face and knew that he was a part of Subway. Then what happened with an FBI investigation, he was actually exposed to be a pedophile. It was a big secret undercover operation, and he was exposed to be a pedophile. And then what did you think Subway did? Right? They dropped him. Old school tactics, they dropped him and they pretended that he didn't exist. What is the challenge of that with today's savvy audiences? They remember. So the opportunity for Subway was actually to be honest about their experience, to chalk it up as a milestone within their organization, potentially to even become a crusader for anti-pedophilia causes, to educate their consumers on what it was like to be duped by a pedophile, to show us the signs. But they did an old school way, and as a result, people became very suspicious of how long they had known about this behavior for, and so forth. All right? So another counterintuitive idea. We've also seen this with United Airlines. We remember the bloodied passenger, right, from last year, or I believe it might have been the year before. The CEO firstly came out with one apology, which abided by party line, and then he came out with a second apology saying, you know what, it was actually all our fault. So you get punished today amongst this younger audiences for abiding by party lines. Be candid, be overexposed. Rule number 3, ideas need to be you-centric, not audience-centric. Another counterintuitive example, and whether we like people or we don't like people, there's a lot to learn from them, especially those who are breaking through and are winning on one level at least. So, when I started off in advertising, I would go around the world asking people, what they wanted me to say about this product, how they wanted me to say it. Could you underline the actual words that you prefer in this sentence over others? And then we would regurgitate that back to them. And way back when, those sorts of mechanisms actually worked. Now, they don't. So let's look at a brand that is good at being you-centric. We know who this woman is, Emma Thompson. And this is her at the Golden Globes Awards. Let's see what she said with regards to a brand called Christian Louboutin. Have we all heard of Christian Louboutin? It is the high-heeled shoes that go for extortionate amounts of prices. Many people struggle to even walk in them. They're the red-soled stiletto shoes.
Stop it. I just want you to know, this red, it's my blood. Where's the envelope?
And what was Monsieur Louboutin's response? If you can't walk in them, don't wear them. Christian Louboutin's you-centric strategy wins out all the time in the holy trinity of luxury shoewear with Jimmy Choo, Manolo Blahnik, and Christian Louboutin. Christian Louboutin sells over 700,000 pairs of shoes that go at extortionate prices that no one can really walk in. Another good idea of you-centricity. The other power of a you-centric idea is that over 70% of audiences today want to connect on a values level. So if I'm showing you what my values are, I'm empowering you all to decide whether you agree with them or you don't agree with them. And that's a good thing, because what you're going to find is you're going to find a certain group of people are going to come along, and they're going to not only be a brand fan, but they're going to become fanatics. And developing fanatics, that additional emotional bonding between your customer, your consumer, and your idea of product or service is where it's at today, especially in an ultra-competitive environment. Rule number 4, flaws make you fascinating, so embrace yours. Now, why did I choose this image? Yes, it's violent. Yes, it's arresting. Yes, what he's done is wrong. I don't think that's where the conversation becomes interesting. I hope we would all agree with that. Where the conversation becomes interesting with this image is that essentially this man has sacrificed everything because he believes in something. He has shown us the courage of his convictions. That level of self-belief, that level of conviction is enormously appealing to younger audiences today. Right? So let's look at a brand that doesn't do that so well. Do we recognize these angels? From Victoria's Secret. An overly perfect image today is not going to sell because perfection is passé. It's your imperfections that make you perfect. Right? And as a result, Victoria's Secret, parent company, has felt the pinch because they haven't embraced body diversity. They haven't really embraced a real, authentic image. They haven't moved with the times, and as a result, they've seen their market share and their share price tank significantly. Let's look at a brand that does do flaws very well.
You want to meet my girls?
One word.
Sexy. Sexy. Don't get it twisted. How boring would it be if we were all the same?
It's all about how you feel.
I think it's in my eyes.
It's something that looks like this. Beautiful.
I mean, honey, have you seen all this?
Hot. Whoa. I'm no angel.
I'm no angel.
I'm no angel.
I'm all kinds of sexy.
Cacique, exclusively from Lane Bryant.
It's a takedown culture, so you've got to be straight up. That's a new paradigm shift. There are brands that are going to take on other brands directly. And of course, most famously, as the media reported with Forbes and Adweek, that the Kim Kardashian principle was applied by this brand and this campaign, and the actual flaws phraseology of sacrifice everything to believe in something became believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. This is the Nike Colin Kaepernick campaign. For those of you who might be living under a rock, it is the most talked about advertising campaign in recent history. I wanted to talk to you about this. It created over $163 million in buzz value, all right? $49 million worth of that was negative press. And why is that not a bad thing? Because today, whether we like it or not, hate is a status symbol. If we're not being hated, we're not in the game. In the world of social media, everyone has the human right to express their opinion. You don't want to silence anyone or take that right away from them. And on the contrary, you do not want to give your right to express your opinion to anyone else either. All right, so you're not going to have everybody like your product. Success is in striking an emotional nerve with consumers and getting them to think. In addition, 31% increase in sales, market cap of Nike hit $6 billion, and the third statistic was around the stock price increased 36% year on end. Rule number 5, self-honesty brings intimacy. Does anyone know these two? The famous, all right, I'll go back to these two. But they look very happy. They genuinely look very happy. Who's heard of Uber Pool? I'm just testing to see whether people are awake. They are, indeed. Uber Pool, the low-cost service for cab riding, has done a great job of this. They have actually embraced this self-honesty brings intimacy by allowing your audience to decide how and when they want to use your product, allowing them to define the product. And this, of course, and this couple is the first couple who actually met and married in an Uber Pool, because Uber Pool started being used as a dating service. So one has to be open to that, and regardless of whether we're meeting in an Uber Pool or not, love is love, and that's relevant. And then I also saw this quote that I thought was really representative of what I was saying. We've all become experts at seeing beyond the facade, me included. I learned that to really believe and create a believable image, what you show on the outside has to match what you feel on the inside. And that really moved me, and then I found out it's from my own book, The Kim Kardashian Principle. All right. Last but not least, execute. Get out there, try different things, see what works, see what doesn't. There's more forgiveness in the marketplace than there is ever before, all right? So, years ago, brands were incredibly careful, products, ideas, services, well, I don't want to put this out because I might not entirely be ready yet. Or, you had those big celebrities that would come out once every 3 years and give an interview. And that's really changed now. You can have the Kardashian card that flunks. No one remembers it. You can have Cosmo yogurt that flunks. Yes, that was actually an idea. And people are still going to engage in your product. If you're innovative, if you're, trying different things, they understand that there's a level of forgiveness in the marketplace. Like life, these new rules can all be summed up in a neat package, and that is the framework called SELFIE: surprise, expose, lead, flaws, intimate, and execute. I did want to leave you by saying that as technologists, as marketers, as leaders in this room, we have a responsibility, I feel, to not only represent ourselves, but to represent our communities. That's certainly why I'm here today and why I laud many of you who are here today for that same reason. So whenever I'm the only person on a TV show, or I'm the only South Asian face in a 500-mile radius, I think of the words of Maya Angelou. Every time you see me, I come as one, but I stand for 10,000. Every time you see me, I come as one, but I stand for 10,000, because you not only know who you are, you know whose you are. And there's power in the collective. You don't get what you wish for. You don't even get what you hope for. You get what you believe in. So I do hope today there's that strong self-belief of true, authentic power. Thank you.